that God would let me come and speak before you at your graduation. And I'm thankful for that. And I think that one of the things that we can do that is so important is to hold on to your sense of humor. When you go through those peaks and those valleys, and especially in the valleys, humor can get you through so much, along with your faith and along with your family and the support that you're given. Hold on to that sense of humor. That was shown very, very clearly to me. Humor's always been a big part of my life. But this past January, when my beloved grandmother passed away, I'd sat by her bedside for about 4 or 5 days. She had a massive stroke, and she held on much longer than anyone thought that she would, but she waited for everyone to come and be able to say their goodbyes before she passed. And on the early morning when she did pass away, a few minutes after she passed, the nurse came in and it closed the curtain and was going to take out her IVs and things of that nature so that we could gather around her and say our goodbyes and she wouldn't have all of the medical equipment. And I stepped behind the curtain and asked the nurse if I could help with that. Since I had been a nurse, it just felt to me like something that I wanted to do. And as we were removing the IVs and things of that nature, the nurse asked about my grandmother's jewelry. Well, my grandfather had already taken her wedding rings, and she wasn't wearing any earrings, and we didn't see any jewelry. And the nurse asked, well, she doesn't have anything like a belly button ring or anything like that we need to check for, does she? And at first I thought, well, that's an odd question. She's 81 years old, and for a split second, I was almost offended. And then I thought about my grandmother's sense of humor and her wonderful smile. And out of my mouth, before I could even stop it, I said, well, no, all 3 of my sisters do have belly button rings, but they just couldn't talk me and Grandmama into it. And the nurse laughed and I laughed, and I just thought I pictured my grandmother with a great big smile on her face, just laughing hysterically at that, at the thought that we would think that. Humor can get you so far in life, and especially get you through those difficult times, so never lose your sense of humor. Hold on to that, even in the difficult times. I made a comment recently in going through all the crazy times of this year and the chaos, that I felt like I was on a roller coaster, and I felt like the hand of God was the only thing that was holding me into the seat and keeping me from falling out. And it reminded me of a quote from one of my favorite movies called Parenthood. And that's a movie that Steve Martin was in, and back in 1989, so before some of y'all's time. And in the movie, Steve Martin plays a husband and a father who's struggling through some difficult issues of his own. And towards the end of the movie, he is sitting with his wife, and he's just complaining about how difficult his life is and how complicated things are, and he's just at a loss at what to do. And his dear, sweet, senile grandmother comes in the room right about then. And she looks at him and she says, when I was 19, Grandpa took me on a roller coaster. And Steve Martin's character, Gil, kind of turns to her and rolls his eyes and just kind of, oh. And she says,